campaign is in chaos as there is infighting among the different grifters, hucksters, and profiteers on his team, which are threatening his presidential bid. This is a leak from inside the Trump campaign, as the Trump campaign advisors are telling everybody, stop talking to the press. It's so funny as they're pointing fingers at each other. Grifter, huckster, profiteer. I don't know, maybe you look in the mirror because you all are all that. At the same time, Vice President Kamala Harris is soaring in the latest New York Times YouGov A+ poll of the swing state. She's up in Pennsylvania, up in Nevada, up in Wisconsin, and up in Michigan. Donald Trump is not taking that well, making post after post of himself with an American flag painted on his face, calling America a failing nation over and over again, trying to grift more money off supporters by selling Trump flag pins, Make America Great Again flags, which he says are the most patriotic flags in existence. Meanwhile, MeidasTouch got its hands on the Trump media investor deck, which shows how the projections that Trump media was showing its investors in 2021, let's just say, were over $800 million off the projections of what it actually is right now. Perhaps if they were talking not about revenue, but about their losses in the hundreds of millions of dollars, they would have been closer. But as you look at this investor presentation, as they claim that Trump media was going to be like Disney or Netflix or iHeart, you see how utterly delusional it really is. But perhaps they were counting on what's now being exposed as a right-wing influencer operation led by Vladimir Putin. A bombshell DOJ indictment dropped earlier this week, which shows the coordination of the Russian television and media networks laundering money through front group media companies, right-wing media companies that then reached out and hired these right-wing influencers to trash the United States of America, divide Americans against Americans. The influencers who are right-wing personalities that I'm sure you know, people like Tim Pool and Benny Johnson and Matt Christensen and Lauren Southern and others, they deny that they knew that they were getting paid by Russia. They just say, hey, this is the type of stuff that we like to say anyway, which just happens to align with the messaging. We'll break that all down. But there's so many ops. Like, did you see this photo that was posted by all of the Trumpers saying, look, Governor Walz's family is against them? Like, they aren't even like his actual close relatives. I'm not even sure he knows who these people are. They're like distant cousins who were put together. It's all these ops. And it's so incumbent on us to call it out. That's what we do here on the MeidasTouch Network. And finally, a major ruling from Judge Tanya Chutkin following the superseding indictment in the Washington, D.C. criminal case against Donald Trump. She set a pretty expedited briefing schedule for the Department of Justice to brief why there shouldn't be absolute immunity, for Trump to argue why he thinks he has absolute immunity, and all of that will be briefed in September. So buckle up, folks. Things will get interesting. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Brothers, how are you doing? Brett, what a great background you got there in a new MeidasTouch studio, perhaps?
That's a level up right there, big
You like
bro.
to see? I saw Ben, bragging about his new studio last time, and I was like, you know what? I need to do an upgrade here myself. So we got the little new Meidas studio right here for the MeidasTouch podcast and any future hot takes I might do, and for the various TikToks and Instagram. By the way, you following us on Instagram and TikTok and Threads and all the various social media platforms? You better make sure you are. I am so excited for this episode. First off, I can't believe that we're past Labor Day. I can't believe that it is September 5th. I can't believe that the debate is like a few days away. This all felt like so long ago, but like we've been saying this whole time, it's going to come way quicker than you can even anticipate at this moment in time. And so we are here. It is September 5th when we are recording this. We have the debate coming up and a very bad week for Donald Trump before that debate, with these polls, with the infighting, with his just kind of constant rambling. You're not even being able to like say words at these events. I mean, you could read the transcripts. And what I like doing now is actually writing out the transcripts of the words that Donald Trump says, just so you could show how insane this person truly is and how honestly like stupid he is. And this right-wing ecosystem being just totally torn to shreds by the DOJ, being utterly exposed for what it is, a complete sham, something that is just completely propped up by the Russians to divide America. I know so often we look at each other and we go, how in the heck can these people be saying these things? Like, there needs to be something going on here. And anytime this a DOJ indictment like this drops, we go, okay, this all makes sense now. Like, this is what we suspected this whole time. And it's pretty amazing that they were able to connect the dots here. And we will connect the dots on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. Jordy, what's new?
What's up, fellas? Hey, I'm excited for tonight's show. Brett, you also, for our audio listeners, Brett is sporting a really nifty haircut. That looks really good. Brett, last time you were at the haircut, or every time you go to the dentist, anytime seemingly you have an appointment, something major happens.
Yeah.
So did anything major happen yesterday when you were getting the haircut?
Russia indictment. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Keep this man in his studio, or maybe not actually, because the bombshells, definitely fly while Brett's not by his computer.
Finish the haircut. I got to make a TikTok about this.
Benji, how about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, look, there was once a time where we would be guided by objective data, where it was clear in this damning indictment that Russia was involved in this influence operation. We're talking about emails. We've got the kind of front pseudonyms that were used. Edward Gregorian was pretending to be this businessman, but was actually a Russian agent. When you break down, like in detail, the communications between this American media company that was actually a front for the Russian influence operation, and you lay it all out, every American should be shocked. All media companies that care about our democracy should be like, holy crap, America is under attack. And I just want you to think about this, because if the media landscape that exists now existed during Watergate, they would just be like, Watergate, Schmortergate, Watergate, here we go again. The weaponization of the DOJ, they're going after Nixon. This is crap. Enough, enough, enough. That's not what happened, right? Back when Nixon was in power and Watergate was uncovered, regardless of your political party, by and large, America said that was a crime. Every day right now, Donald Trump does like 10 Watergates every single day. And maybe it's because the deluge of it or whatever, or just the corporate media is now complicit and doesn't understand what its role is as the media. They just let him get away with it right now. And so immediately you saw Fox kick into high gear yesterday. And they're like, here we go again. Russia, Russia, Russia. The Democrats are trying to go after Donald. No, Russia is trying to influence our elections. And the things these right-wing media influencers are saying, as Governor Walz would say, who wants these ideas? Who's saying these things? And it is inspired by Russian money, is what we learned. And that is bad. And we should call that out, whether you have a D or an R or an I, Democrat, Republican, Independent, or whatever. You should say that is bad. Similarly, when you watch Donald Trump say these things that he says at these various events that he's done over the past 24 to 48 hours, you should say he's not speaking in sentences, or he's speaking like a wannabe dictator, or this makes no sense, or this is frightening. And that shouldn't be a Democratic or Republican position. Just as human beings watching things, we should be able to use common sense and say, what the heck did you just say? Let me start with this fake town hall that was being hosted on Fox, where Donald Trump claimed that there was supposed to be a debate on Fox, which there wasn't. But it's a propaganda session led by Fox, which calls itself news. Like, how this could even exist right now is beyond me. But here we are in 2024, just straight up propaganda sessions. And even with softball questions, Donald Trump says things that are so alarming and so dangerous and just not how democracies work. Like this, Trump says you have no choice. You have to vote for him. Even if you don't like him, you have to vote for him. Here, play this clip.
I'm not going to allow it. You can't take the chance. You have no choice. You've got to vote for me. You've got to vote for me. You got to. Even if you don't like me, you know? Yeah. It's like, no, but even if you don't like me, you can sit there and say, I can't stand that guy, but there's no way I'm going to vote for her. No,
I mean, what in the world is that? Then he says one of his best accomplishments when he was in office is that he said there was 4 years without any World Trade Center blowups. And that's why he should be congratulated. Here, play this clip.
But, you know, I wanted to say it so much during my term. We went 4 years without any blow-ups. We had no World Trade Center blow-up. We had no radical Islamic terror. We had no radical Islamic terror.
I recall almost every day in the 4th year of his term disgracing the office, there were more deaths than occurred at the World Trade Center every single day, because he mishandled COVID. I know corporate media wants to be like, this thing just happened and he shouldn't be blamed for it. He was the leader. Since when did we give the president of the United States a mulligan? He said like a miracle it was all going to go away. He was out there bragging about his ratings from press conferences where he told Americans to inject bleach. You know, the lockdowns, those were Trump lockdown. So as we are watching college football right now in the NFL, when Trump was in office, there were Trump lockdowns because he didn't know what the heck he was doing other than to cover it up and tell Americans like a miracle it was all going to go away. I remember watching on TV mobile morgues. I remember watching Donald Trump, in addition to saying inject bleach into your veins, I remember the food lines for food banks that stretched miles long as Americans were starving to death. I remember every day the stock market would crash by thousands of points each and every day. I remember seeing unemployment at its highest levels ever because Trump mishandled it. He was an utter failure. And that's the language that he used. Oh, praise me because there was no World Trade Center? What in the heck is that? And then he goes, I'm not weird. Me and JD are not weird. We're not weirdos. Here, play this clip.
JD is not weird. He's a solid rock. I happen to be a very solid rock. We're not weird. We're other things perhaps, but we're not weird. But he is a weird guy. He walks on the stage. There's something wrong with that guy. And he called me weird. And then the fake news media picks it up. That was the word of the day. Weird, weird, weird. They're all going, but we're not weird guys.
And then he can't even use, he doesn't have the vocabulary to even attack Governor Walz. Did you notice? He just goes on stage and he's like, and then they call me weird. He can't finish a sentence to even make the attack point. And then that brainwashed audience is like laughing. There's legitimately nothing funny. I'm watching an actual moron and an idiot up there.
Well, I want to make a point about that too, because the reason why, you know, we see this brainwashed audience out there is because this plays into, Ben, exactly what you were saying in the beginning and exactly what's going to be a theme of this episode as we speak about this new Russia indictment and these MAGA influencers. Fox, Hannity, this is another one of those ops. It's really not much different than this Russia operation that's happening with these MAGA influencers. These are fake events. These are staged events. This is exactly what they accuse corporate media, other corporate media stations of, who do not do this sort sort of thing. They call this a town hall. It is a fake town hall. They didn't even take a single question from somebody, not to mention that they filled the audience anyway with the most rabid Trump supporters so that they could get that WWE style reaction in every question and that laughter at every stupid Trump remark, because it's about putting on a show. It's not about delivering information. It's about making a propaganda piece to get people to like Donald Trump. And so you fill it with those people, you have them laugh, you have them applaud at the dumbest things imaginable. You are sending a message out to the viewers that you should also be feeling those same things. And Hannity and Fox in general have already been proven to be like the crisis PR firm for Donald Trump. I mean, we saw those text messages and we saw those emails and the various lawsuits against Fox in the January 6th committee when they spoke about how Fox handled the attack on the Capitol, on what Fox was doing, trying to give advice to Donald Trump on how to handle the situation. This is as much of an op as it gets. This is all fraudulent. Every single bit of it is scripted.
You take a look at their show, The Five, and Jessica Tarlov is like the one pro-democracy voice. But as you even break down that show, the whole purpose of it is that she makes incredible articulate points, but you surround her with 4 other voices that shout her down and treat her like she's stupid as she's making these cogent points. So what the message it sends to the Fox viewer who's been brainwashed all day by their lies, when she makes the articulate point, which is basically the control group for maybe what a family member of a Fox viewer may be arguing back to them, they're reassured by the 4 other people on the panel who shout her down and, that's stupid, that's dumb, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So the message, this is all psychological manipulation, goes to the viewer, goes, oh, got it, she's stupid. And those smart ideas are dumb. I'm with the 4 versus the 1, and that's the 5. The whole purpose of the 5 is the 4 wins every time, right? It's literally a rigged sports game where Tarlov will always lose. And she'll make her points, but no matter what, in the debate, she is intended to be the losing person every time. And then they run these ops throughout their shows, and they're really studying psychological manipulation. It's obvious the shows are programmed with an intent to manipulate. But by the way, you go back to the origins of Fox. Roger Ailes, I mentioned Nixon before, created a right-wing propaganda memorandum to avoid people like Nixon being held accountable in the future by creating a right-wing media propaganda system. And at the same time that was developing, you had the Federalist Society say, how does the right wing take over the courts? So as America was becoming more and more diverse, the right wing propaganda machine and control of court plan was rising, snuck up in a way that nobody was really watching. And bam, we see those factors right now. And now the antidote has to be us and you fighting back against that. I want to show you this as well. Donald Trump claims that the reason he understands nuclear and nuclear programs better than anyone is because of his uncle who was at MIT, and that somehow has transmuted nuclear physics to Donald Trump's brain. Here, play this clip.
And you know, the one program I hated to upgrade, hated it, was the nuclear program. And I understand it maybe better than anybody. My uncle was at MIT, a professor, the longest serving professor in the history of MIT, a very smart guy. We have a smart family. It's nice to have a smart family. But I understood nuclear for a long time, the power of nuclear weapons. You need a president that's not going to be taking you into war. We won't have World War III when I'm elected, but
I understand the power of nuclear weapons because I had an uncle who worked at MIT and I have a smart family. Who answers questions like that? Like, what in the world even is that as a response? How does that get applause? And again, I go back to what I said before. I don't care what political party you are from. What we just observed is not normal behavior. It's not a normal response. It's not a coherent response. He's not speaking in complete sentences, right? At a bare minimum, shouldn't we do complete sentences? And that's what we talked about at the last show. Vice President Kamala Harris is actually graded on a curve of she has to be perfect. And if she's not, it's viewed as a failure. Donald Trump's curve basically is if he can somehow even make sounds that he gets applauded, and that should be treated like, whoa, I guess that was great. It isn't. Enough with the gaslighting that is normal. Then Donald Trump spoke at this Economic Club of New York event today, where one of his billionaire benefactors, John Paulson, had him go in front of this New York economic community and try to act like he knows what he's talking about. The first clip I want to show you, though, is Donald Trump saying that for the 4 years he was in office, he took care of the American economy like he would take care of his own company. Here, play this clip.
For 4 straight years, I fought for American workers like I would fight for my own family. I took care of our economy like I would take care of my own company.
Okay, well, in terms of taking care of your own company, Trump Media, which has your name on it, is now down, 75% since its high in March. It has lost over $343 million this year alone. Last year, it lost $56 million in terms of revenue. This year, it's averaging, $700,000 to $850,000 a quarter in revenue on hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. Last year, it barely cleared $4 million in total revenue. MeidasTouch got Donald Trump's investor presentation. I want to share that with you, and I want to show you what his projections were, because in 2024, Trump projected over $800 million in revenue. And then in 2023, he projected nearly $150 million in revenue. He was not close to any of those projections, more inflated numbers over and over again. But I'll go into detail in that in a little bit. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch, where you could have a Zoom meetings with me and my brothers and check out our after show content as well. Next Thursday, I think, is the day we're going to host our Zoom meeting. So to prepare for that, sign up at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, store.MeidasTouch.com. Get the pro-democracy gear that you see everybody wearing right now. The MeidasTouch gear, it's so amazing. I go to malls, I go to shopping centers, wherever. I see so many people wearing the Childless Cat Lady shirts, the Kamala and Midas shirts, the Unburdened hats. It's really cool to see that out and about. So get your store.MeidasTouch.com, and the mind your own damn business ones I've seen everywhere. We'll be right back after our first quick break. We've got a lot more to discuss. So what does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you're going to get 10 different answers. A bull market, a bear market, rates will rise or fall. Can someone please invent a crystal ball for me, please? Until then, over 38,000 businesses, including the MeidasTouch network, have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. I use this, and you should too. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Speaking of opportunity, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning at netsuite.com/Meidas. You're not going to regret it. You got to learn all about it. That's what we're doing here at Meidas. The guide is free to you at netsuite.com/Meidas. Read it. NetSuite, NetSuite.com/Meidas. That's netsuite.com/Meidas. Tell them we sent you, and check out that CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning as well. Thanks, NetSuite, for sponsoring. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. That's why I love it. All you have to do is you breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on in your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time. And Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. Your metabolism is your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, better sleep, etc. Lumen gives you recommendations to improve your metabolic health. It can also track your cycle as well as the onset of menopause and adjust your recommendations to keep your metabolism healthy through hormonal shifts, so you can keep up your energy and stave off cravings. Look, I love Lumen, and I know you will too. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to Lumen, LUMEN.me/Meidas to get 15% off your Lumen. That is LUMEN.me/Meidas for 15% off your purchase. One more time, go to lumen.me/Meidas, LUMEN.me/Meidas, and get 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
Shout out to our pro-democracy sponsors, y'all. Links are in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Click them, use our codes, let them know we sent you. We work really hard on those discounts, so definitely check it out. Do me a personal favor, go ahead and click on that NetSuite link like right now. Every time, I swear, they're a sponsor of the show. We end up breaking the record of how much traffic we bring to their site. So check that out. And Lumen, phenomenal device. Definitely check that out as well. Brothers,
going back to Donald Trump's speech, I guess if that's what you want to call it, at this economic event earlier in the day, one of the things that Donald Trump said that he wants to establish in the United States is his own slush fund, his own type of sovereign wealth fund that he can use to buy things. And this is his view of our economy. It sounds fairly kind of centralized and the opposite of what conservatives would believe in, number one, in theory, and then number two, but it seems like what he's talking about is exactly what Michael Cohen warned he was going to do, that if he were to get into power, he would basically take money away from the American people, even billionaires and decamillionaires, like literally steal it, MBS style, right? The way MBS in Saudi Arabia took the money from the various family members to consolidate his power, transfer it to his bank account, and do exactly what he does with his political action committees, right? Going back to what I said at the episode, it would be his personal slush fund, because at the end of the day, that's what he's after. He wants to use our country to enrich himself and screw we the people. Here's his idea of having an American sovereign wealth fund, but he said, we'll call it something different. I wonder if what he means is he wants to call it the Trump fund. I think he does. Here, play this clip.
Why don't we have a wealth fund? Other countries have wealth funds. We have nothing. We have nothing. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, or we can name it something different. I'll talk about it with Mr. Paulson, who's in the audience, and a lot of other friends of mine. And we'll name it something that's appropriate. Perhaps sovereign wealth fund wouldn't be appropriate, but it's going to be the same thing. We'll put tremendous amounts of money through all this money that will be taken in through tariffs and other intelligent things, and we'll have the greatest sovereign wealth fund of them all, and we should have, and that will be used to do things that will be great for our country, including to invest.
Yeah, we don't have a sovereign wealth fund because we're not a developing nation. Our GDP right now is the fastest growing of all G7 nations. We don't need Donald Trump and a select group of his billionaire donors controlling our tax dollars to buy themselves crap. That's kind of antithetical to the American dream and our values here. So on the one hand, you have Vice President Kamala Harris talking about a bottom-up, middle-out approach, talking about small business tax credits, child tax credits, alleviating the tax burden on middle class and working families. And then you have Donald Trump saying that he wants to huddle with his billionaire donors to create his own slush fund that he's going to start to spend. I mean, his ideas are incomprehensible. And if you try to parse it, they are highly damaging, highly devastating. It's also why Goldman Sachs came out with a report recently. Goldman Sachs, which what Donald Trump and MAGA are going to say, those communist, Marxist Goldman Sachsers, they said the GDP would grow significantly more under Vice President Kamala Harris than under Donald Trump. Also, a ton of independent studies have shown that, guess what? The same way Donald Trump added $8 trillion to our debt, that he would do so again with his ridiculous plans. He doesn't even understand what tariffs are. He doesn't understand that they're inflationary. He just likes the talking point. We're going to tax foreign countries. We're going to tax them. We're going to tax them. It's a tax on Americans. Now, let me just share this with you right here, because to me, this is a very important thing for us all, where I want to hear actual ideas. Jordy and his wife just had their first child together. Me and my wife are expecting our first child any day now, any moment. In fact, while we're live right now, it could potentially happen. So a big issue for me, and probably for a lot of you watching and listening to this, is the affordability of childcare. And it's a massive issue. And I want to hear coherent policies around it. And Brett, did Donald Trump give any coherent policies around childcare today?
Let's play the clip and let's see if you could decipher what the heck Donald Trump is saying to this very straightforward question.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question.
What are they clapping for? I mean, you have to think about the people in that room, though, are also economic leaders, right? There's decamillionaires and billionaires in that room clapping at that. Brett, that wasn't even a coherent sentence.
No, I mean, you can't even understand like what he said. I think ultimately, if you try to parse it, something about childcare actually isn't that big of a deal, and tariffs are going to bring in money. So who cares about childcare? It's an out of touch answer, even if you try to make any sense of it. But in order to try to make sense of these things, one of the things that we've been doing here is we will write out the transcript of the words that Donald Trump says. So we wrote this out today and we posted it on our social media. You can see it right here if you want to take a screenshot, or you could find it on our Twitter and Threads account. And I'll just read some of it right now. The unedited transcript of Donald Trump's response to the question about would he commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable, and if so, what specific legislation would he advance? This was Donald Trump's response. I'm just going to read it in my voice so that we could take the Trumpiness out of it and that you could just see the incoherence for what it is. Trump: well, I would do that, and we're sitting down, and I was somebody. We had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kinds of numbers that I'm talking about, that because, look, childcare is childcare is. Couldn't, there's something. You have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but it doesn't get more coherent than that. He's never able to circle around a particular thought. It's just incoherent rambling. And this isn't the first time, of course. And this is, multiple now in a series that we've done of these transcripts of Donald Trump trying to just show people in plain English what Donald Trump is saying and how little it makes sense. Here's, I think this was Donald Trump. I think he was in Vegas at this point. This is at least one of the first times where he spoke about the sharks and electrocution and all of that. And so this is the transcript from June 9th from his speech in Las Vegas. So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT. My relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there? By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Did you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. They just didn't really understand. A young woman's swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking? Water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted, or do I jump over the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do? If there was a shark or you get electrocuted, I'll take electrocution every single time because I'm not getting near the shark. And that's Donald Trump's rambling. And we see it constantly. And one of the issues with how this is all being reported also is you could have Vice President Kamala Harris get out there, and we'll play some clips of her delivering her economic message with real policy plans that could help people. And these are plans that could be debated, right? You could like some ideas, you could not like some ideas. They could be up for debate. You could have a discussion about it. And that's what you should be doing with anyone's policy positions, right? But they grade her on this massive curve. And then they try to what we call sane wash Donald Trump statements to try to make his incoherent statements sound like he actually said something normal. So here, for example, is the New York Times sane washing Donald Trump's speech that was apparently on the economy, whatever you just heard and watched. And this was posted by somebody on X named Digby. He said, this makes it sound as if Trump gave a coherent economic speech. He did not. It was largely irrelevant gibberish drawn from his tiresome rally stump speech, and most of it made no sense. But sure, it was about policy. This is the problem, people. They're covering for him. And this is what the New York Times wrote. Trump, in this speech to business leaders, is to a large extent doubling down on the economic proposals he made during his successful 2016 campaign, when he proposed lowering corporate taxes, slashing regulations, and reconfiguring trade agreements in order to boost tariffs. He has essentially promised the same things here, but with larger cuts and higher tariffs, and he has repeated his promise to increase American oil and gas production, which has been at record levels under the Biden administration. I mean, at least they note the record levels under the Biden.
Sure.
election, but to take Donald Trump's whatever the heck that you just heard and to just kind of mold it into what you want it to be is just an odd thing that we see time and time again. I know we've read also, all these these articles about the Trump rallies when they try to make sense of it. And Donald Trump got up there and he said, "Who wants more Trump?" And everybody shouted and went USA as the crowd applauded. And you're like, what the heck are they watching here? Like you're going to ignore the QAnon rants. You're going to ignore him not being able to speak. You're going to ignore his whole concept of rounding up people in the streets and mass deportation. Like, you're going to really sanitize that, because therein lies the issue.
You're 1,000% right, Brett, because it's so much more than just maybe an odd coincidence of how are all these publications doing this and cover. It is absolute media malpractice what we're watching on a daily basis. And look, if you consider yourself pro-democracy, you're just asking, you don't even want favorable coverage, right? For Kamala or for Biden. You just want the same you just want to be on the same playing field here. But there's a different scale of how these two are graded and the answers that they give. It's unbelievable that we as the American people just let mainstream corporate media do this to us. But you know what? We're not anymore. There's been a mass exodus of corporate media, of people calling this out. And it's led to the growth of this amazing community, this MeidasTouch network community. So thank you guys, the folks listening, the folks putting in the work day in and day out to call stuff like that out, because that is media malpractice, period, end of story. Ben.
Well, you think about it, with the fourth estate failing to do its job. On the one hand, you have these pro-democracy channels, which I believe the MeidasTouch network is one of the leaders in just trying to get the facts out, where I don't view our channel as specifically liberal, progressive, independent, or conservative. I just think we're trying to get the facts out. We're unapologetically pro-democracy. That's being framed by defective corporate media as liberal or left, which certainly I have liberal and left and progressive ideas, but it's framed that way. In contrast to the right wing, which is viewed as what we now know to be, and this is what we've been saying all along, actually is not conservative. They're not conserving institutions unless what they're trying to do is conserve the monarchy or conserve or entrench the power of Vladimir Putin. Perhaps they're trying to conserve Putin's power, because now we know that a lot of this right wing, our suspicions have been confirmed by this DOJ indictment. And I think it's the tip of the iceberg. Unless you're telling me that these right wing influencers are just all for free, and we know a lot of them are being paid now, are pushing out, as Governor Walz would say, who the hell wants these ideas?
Which may even be worse. I don't know what's worse at this point.
Well,
but that's why Ben,
the defense by the right-wing influencers is, you wouldn't have to, even though we took this money, we didn't know it was coming from Russia, because we would have said this stuff anyway. Really? Because some of this stuff was so unapologetically pro-Russia that even the Russian influence operation was like, maybe we need to chill and tone this down.
This might be a little much.
This might be a little too obvious. We'll break that down and more. We have a lot more show to go.
Ben, I want to say that's why, though, I'm happy to see people like real conservatives coming out in bigger numbers than ever in order to say what we are witnessing is not conservative. That's why I was happy to see Liz Cheney yesterday come out and say, I do not believe that we have the luxury anymore of writing in candidates' names. As a conservative, as someone who believes in and cares about the Constitution, I have thought deeply about this. I am not just going to not vote for Donald Trump, but I will be voting for Kamala Harris. And I know that there are so many other actual conservatives, independents, moderates that want to join this pro-democracy community, because, Ben, they see exactly what is happening with this MAGA movement, and we are going to dissect and break it all down right when we get back from this quick break. Don't go anywhere.
A question that I am frequently asked is, Ben, how do you stay so calm when you're doing your reporting with all that's going on in the world? And I say, one of the tricks that I use is actually I use an app that's called Calm. And the app called Calm has these grounding exercises and expert talks and meditations that I listen to in the morning and sometimes before I go to sleep. And it's been really helpful for me. Calm, it's the #1 app for sleep and meditation, giving you the power to calm your mind and change your life. And it's really helped me. It's got meditations to work through anxiety and stress and boost your focus and build healthier habits and take better care of your physical well-being. And look, stress less, sleep more, and live better with Calm. Try it out. I think you'll really like it. For listeners of our show, Calm is now offering an exclusive offer of 40% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/Meidas, calm.com/Meidas. Go to calm.com/Meidas for 40% off unlimited access to Calm's entire library. That's calm.com/Meidas. All right, are you ready for this fact? Traditional bed sheets can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat. It can lead to acne, allergies, and stuffy noses. It's just gross. Miracle Made, however, offers a whole line of self-cleaning antibacterial bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent up to 99.7% of bacteria growth and require up to 3 times less laundry. It's why I use Miracle Made on my bedding. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, no matter the weather, so you get a better sleep every single night. It's why I love Miracle Sheets. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. So go to trymiracle.com/Meidas. Trymiracle.com/Meidas and try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save up to 40%. And if you use our promo code Meidas at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode.
Shout out Miracle, shout out Calm. Miracle, just amazing. I've re-outfitted my whole bedroom with all the Miracle stuff. So my sheets are just super comfortable. Check that out. Ben, that Calm read of yours, that should be studied. Like, that was a beautiful read for the Calm app. It was very calm. It's like, so they're a new sponsor, y'all. I think you may have seen them during a few hot takes that Ben has done. Definitely check them out. Wonderful, wonderful service. Ben does it all the time. I do. It's fantastic. Links in description of audio and YouTube. Calm. Keep calm, everybody. Let's go. I know it's tense, but keep calm. Ben, where are we going next?
Kamala.
I want to show you the contrast right here. On the one hand, you have Governor Walz speaking in Pennsylvania, and I like that he's outlining what Trump and MAGA's plan is. They're trying to keep us divided. They're rooting against America. They're trying to keep you pessimistic. So first, let me play Governor Walz, and then I want to show you a selfie video that Donald Trump made of himself earlier in the day, where he basically says, you need to panic. Economic crash is happening. Panic, panic, panic. Because Trump's trying to create panic because he thinks panic is a winning issue for him. First, Governor Walz, play the clip.
This is going to be door-to-door, phone call to phone call. It's going to be engaging people who it is a deliberate effort by some people to make them believe that our political system is broken, to make them believe that things are pessimistic. My God, every time I hear Donald Trump give a speech, it's like the next screenplay for Mad Max or something. They're rooting against America. They do not believe in the exceptionalism of this country. They do not believe in the people who built this country. They simply want to complain about them. And by you coming here and talking neighbor to neighbor, that's what inspires people. My wife always talks about this. She said, I don't read the paper to see the movie reviews. I ask people that I know what they think about it. And they tell me that's the same thing that's going on here. And I think all of you in this room, it's not hyperbole to say, This election could very well hinge on this county here and this field office here and the folks that we get out. That is an awesome responsibility, but it's also an awesome opportunity.
Okay, now contrast that to Donald Trump's selfie video where he says there's an economic depression, it's all going downhill. Play this clip.
Kamala, crash. We're going to have a crash like 1929 if she gets in. It will not be pretty. Thank you.
And this is unprecedented in American politics. Now, there is, of course, in political races, the parties have dirty tricks. They go after each other. That's always existed. But to have one political party, now the MAGA Republicans, they're not real Republicans, try to actually harm the economy. They're trying to literally create the problems. Look, you could run on problems, right? That's fair to me, fair game. And I think while it's a dirty trick, if you are running a campaign and you want to exaggerate the problems, dirty tricks should be called out. But that was kind of in the traditional, conventional political playbook. Now it is the Republican MAGA playbook to cause and inflict the harm and then run on the harm that you cause and lean on right-wing propaganda media, which we now also know is likely all funded by Russia, or a good deal being funded by Russia, to spread additional fear and panic to divide we the people. Like the stock market right now, which should not be viewed as the main metric, but it's up about 55% since Donald Trump left. On the other hand, Donald Trump's stock in Trump media, this is the article in the headline from New York Times, down 74% from its March peak. Now, imagine if your 401k, your portfolio was down that amount. Imagine if the U.S. stock market was down 74%. So for anyone who's like, we got to run America like we run a business, first off, I don't think we should run government, which is job is to protect and take care of people, like we run businesses. There's elements in learning that we can take from corporate efficiencies, not the greed, but there's lessons that can be learned. But if you're saying we got to run this like business, Trump's bankrupted everything. And his Trump media stock is falling and collapsing. And they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars. And look, more lies in his projections. And you go, well, they're just projections. He didn't say they're definitely going to be like this. But look at these projections, $835 million projected in 2024. He'll be lucky if he clears $3.5 million, $3.5 million. That means your local McDonald's franchise is making far more revenue, just the one McDonald's store, more revenue than all of Trump media. And I promise you, they ain't losing hundreds of millions of dollars or even millions of dollars. He's running this horrifically, and it has his name attached to it. 2023, he projected 114 million. He's off. He did $4 million in 2023 and lost 56 million. And now he's lost close to $343 million already from Trump media. You have all the insiders starting to sell off their stock right now as well. Nunes sold. Other people are selling their stock. At the same time, they're holding press conferences complaining that there's some deep state conspiracy taking place right now. It is the same story with him. He was never good at business. At least if he was good at business and he ran the businesses successfully, you'd be able to make the argument, look, he's done all of these horrible things, but look, he's done these good businesses, but he's done worse in business than anyone in the history. The only thing that he can do is lie better than perhaps anybody in the history of humankind. But he's bankrupted the casinos, the Trump steaks, the Trump water, the Trump jets, the Trump universities. Fail. And then Trump media, lawsuits, the founders accusing him of corporate espionage. He's suing the founder. The whole thing is a freaking mess. And I don't want that to be our country. I said I would show you Vice President Kamala Harris speaking. Here she is talking about, again, a detailed plan to expand tax deductions for startups up to $50,000. She's laying out a plan in detail. Imagine that. Not Hannibal Lecter, not saying, Marco Rubio, I think what we're going to do to tax the foreign countries, they're going to be taxed so good, they're going to not even know. And the thing is, we're going to make it better. Make America great again, save America, do everything great. And that's what we need to do. I'm like, they're clapping for that? What the hell did he even? That wasn't even a thought. That wasn't even a sentence, yet alone a plan. Here's Vice President Kamala Harris's plan, though. Play this clip.
And so all of this is why, as president, one of my highest priorities will be to strengthen America's small businesses. And here I am in New Hampshire to announce a few elements of my plan to do that. So first, we're going to help more small businesses and innovators get off the ground, okay? Now, I'm setting what some, I'm sure, are going to call a very ambitious goal, but you know what? I think we should admire ambition in each other. So I want to see 25 million new small business applications by the end of my first term. And to help achieve this, we will lower the cost of starting a new business. So here's the thing. On average, it costs about $40,000 to start a new business in America. That is a great financial barrier for a lot of folks, and it can hold entrepreneurs back. And the current tax deduction for a startup is just $5,000, okay? So then you got to make up the delta there. Got to figure out how you're going to do that. Not everyone has access to that kind of wealth and capital. So part of my plan is we will expand the tax deduction for startups to $50,000. It's essentially a tax cut for starting a small business. Second, my plan will help existing small businesses grow. We will provide low and no interest loans to small businesses that want to expand. And we will, and this is very important, cut the red tape that can make starting and growing a small business more difficult than it needs to be. More difficult than it needs to be.
So as you see, a detailed plan, it goes on many more minutes. We did a whole video covering it, so feel free to watch the full, but detailed plan, points, explaining the tax code, like that to me is what our political system should be about. Now, you may say to her, hey, how are you going to pay for that? Is that going to cause additional deficit? All fair points if you want to raise, but now we're having normal political discussions, right? And that's what I want to have. I'm happy to have those debates. And if you have a better idea to spur the economy, let's have it. Versus, let me show you a typical MAGA influencer video. This is Sophia Hutchins right now, one of the big MAGA influencers. She runs the Log Cabin, or one of the board members of the Log Cabin Republican groups. But let me just show you. She's a major, one of the top Trump surrogates out there. Here she is accusing Amazon Alexa of rigging the election against Donald Trump and rigging the polls. Play this clip.
And I'm not a big Amazon person myself, but I'm going to film a little video for you telling you how I really feel. Stay tuned. Take 2. Amazon's Alexa bye-bye election interference. I felt so strongly, I had to get a big sledgehammer. Let's see if I get it. Fuck you, Amazon.
So for the audio listener, she takes a sledgehammer, she hammers the Amazon Alexa, and then she curses. And by the way, you go to Donald Trump events and he curses. Indict the mother effer, he says, indict the mother effer, but he curses. He does the curse. Then he goes, all right, everybody, we're going to do the chant. And then at churches, at Trump events, at the churches, they're all chanting like curse words at churches. And I'm watching this. I'm like, What in the world is this?
And by the way, I gotta say, like, it appears that this is an individual who is incredibly well off. They appear to be in a very nice home, looks like a compound on a cliff. I don't know where they are exactly, but maybe like in Malibu or somewhere. Like, it looks like their life is probably not all that bad. Okay. And they have this rage that they just need to project on everybody, going back to what Tim Walz said, to try to make it seem like their life is horrible and your life is horrible and everything is horrible. And the difference in the messaging when you hear Walz and Harris, this message of optimism and here's how we could fix the things that are, troubling you, that are making your life more difficult, with Donald Trump just telling you, yes, you're miserable. Yes, you suck. Yes, this country sucks. And the difference could not be clearer as to what is going on here.
It's such a great point, because in that video, you're right. She appears to be, I can't see the full compound, but she appears to be on some ranch or mansion, the same way when Alina Habba films those videos. You see it in the backyard. She appears to be on the Hollywood Hills looking over, and like those homes right there, if she's where I think she is.
I see ocean. I think she's like in Malibu or something, or like Hidden Hills or something. I think she's in a nice area.
She's in an area where those homes look to be in the tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Where she's saying how awful, our country is. And while they know they're being manipulative, and look, when Donald Trump and all these Fox people go, Russia, 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 I mean, I don't want to lose sight of these things. So remember when Donald Trump gave the press conference when he was running against Hillary Clinton and said, Russia, if you're listening. Here, play this clip.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Okay, I just want you to think about, you don't have to listen to any other clip. I don't have to show you Helsinki, where Donald Trump says he trusts Russia over U.S. intelligence. I don't have to show you the photos of Kislyak and Lavrov, the two top Russian foreign leaders who work under Putin, who went into the Oval Office and
he made me spend all that time digging up these clips. Then, yeah, thanks.
I'm
just joking. I'm just kidding.
We could show you clips of Trump saying he doesn't know what the hell NATO was. He's on a video saying, Russia, you will be rewarded mightily if you get dirt on a political opponent. I don't need to see a dossier. I just saw it. I literally just watched what he said, which is traitorous and treason. I don't need to see anything. I mean, but look what he just said this past week. When he was on Mark Levin, that's how Mark Levin talks. He goes, I told Putin it's a shame. We could have done a lot of business together, but he said it's tough that we make a deal. This is what he said 2 days ago. Here, play this clip.
Than me, but we were having a problem. You had Adam Shifty Schiff and all these bad people, including Hillary and others, coming up with this Russia hoax. And I told Putin, I said, it's a shame, because we could have done a lot of business, the countries together, but with this whole fake thing that's going on, and he understood that. I said, it's a fake deal. He actually said to me, he said, it's tough to make a deal now. I said, you're right, it's tough. They created a fake narrative, this Russia, Russia, Russia hoax. It was a hoax. And we could have had a much different relationship with Russia.
Okay, was it a hoax? Play the clip one more time of him saying, Russia, if you're listening. Let's play that clip.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
I just want you to just watch that yourself. And now what we've learned in this bombshell indictment is that Russia is continuing to listen. They want to elect Donald Trump, and they created media front groups here, like this group Tenet Media, which is a subsidiary of Roaming USA Corp, a Tennessee-based company. The influencers are some of the most well-known right-wing influencers: Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lauren Southern. The influencers deny that they knew they were being paid by Russia. That's their denial. You can assess what you think about their credibility on your own, but they deny it. But it appears that Tenet Media's founders were well aware they were dealing with Moscow as you read the indictment. Some people wonder why the co-founders of Tenet Media have not been indicted. Well, the response is it's potential they're cooperating and they've already pled guilty and are charged. I don't know that for a fact, but if you read between the lines, it is possible that they are cooperating. Again, I don't know that for a fact, but I think we'll find that this is just the tip of the iceberg. But we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars per video that was put out there by these influencers to basically push the most divisive content to benefit Russia over and over again. And the question becomes, how widespread is this? Is it just Tenet Media, or is this fueling and funneling this entire ecosystem? Because a lot of this stuff that's out there is bizarrely anti-American stuff. And as a patriotic American, I watch this and I'm like, what is this? Brett, I'll let you talk briefly about it.
Well, you could say what you want about, Vladimir Putin, but he worked in intelligence in Russia for a long time, and his specialty was manipulating people, and he manipulated himself or people enough to become the leader of Russia, the dictator, the de facto dictator of Russia. And so you know damn well that when he's looking at the United States of America and these influence operations, that he is going to use all the skills that him and his intelligence agencies have to try to sow discord in this country. And this now for years and years and years has been what our intelligence community has been warning. And it's far exceeded the ability, I think, of even our government to even be able to combat this stuff, because technology is moving so quickly. And Ben, you said before, like, is this the only one? Is it just this one Tenet Media? I mean, in my opinion, very doubtful that this is the only one, that just this one organization with Tim Pool and Benny Johnson and Dave Rubin and these others, they just picked this one and they're like, that's it, we're done. We have no other stake in anything else. I call BS on that. Once again, my opinion, but I think I think a lot of people yesterday were probably quite afraid in this MAGA universe. And I know that there have to be a lot of these very dangerous, if not illegal deals going on behind the scenes with a lot of these MAGA influencers. I mean, heck, we were talking about Truth Social before, and their fake numbers that they were putting out that they projected that the stock would do, that Trump media would do in revenue. And when you look behind the curtain at the numbers, you see that the numbers simply aren't there. Same thing with these companies, right? You look behind the curtain at Tenet Media, you find out that 90%, according to this indictment, 90% of their revenue was derived from these Russian sources. So you start to just wonder, are these platforms manipulated into the appearance of popularity, right? You start to wonder, these messages that they are putting out, are they all BS? Are they all a coordinated operation by Russia who are picking either witting or unwitting agents in order to present their messages? Are these individuals also in our government? Are the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene are saying influenced by this? And if not directly, are they being indirectly influenced by it via these influencers? Are people like Matt Gaetz? Where is it all coming from? And I think as we continue to peel back these layers, I think we're going to continue to hear this sort of not shocking information, but still absolutely stunning information that connects the dots and follows the money back to Russia. I mean, to me, this should be like a generational defining story. Like, this is
Totally.
a big story. And I don't want folks to move on from it. And I already feel almost like it was a blip in the headlines and that was it. I mean, this is a major deal that strikes at the heart of our democracy. And I think it really shows that these people are frauds. Like, when you look at this MAGA universe, you see that the whole thing is built on a house of cards of Russian lies. That's what we are witnessing, and we are seeing it fall apart. We are seeing their denials that these individual creators knew about it. Well, you knew you were being paid exorbitant sums of money per video to say specific things. Certain circumstances. The messaging has been incredibly, like Ben said, anti-American, anti-Ukraine, pro-Russia, often at times. And when you see the exhibits, which are perhaps one of the even more revealing things about this case, when you see the Department of Justice's exhibits, it shows you Russia's instructions to the various creators and to the companies, and it shows their goals. And if you go through, for example, in the exhibits, Russia's messaging for how to run a campaign against the Democratic Party, what you read is it reads like Marjorie Taylor Greene's platform. Frankly, it reads like the stuff that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump say when they go out and speak, like word for word. These are the things. And you see that they have these psychological operations. This is these are in the exhibits released by the Department of Justice. This is confirmed stuff. It's not just like me being conspiratorial. They have exhibits for different subgroups. For example, they have an exhibit for how do we divide American Jewish people? How do we divide American Jews who may be more likely to lean to the right of the political spectrum from those who are more likely to lean to the left? How do we build that wedge, and how do we pull them in order to into Donald Trump's camp? How do we build a wedge between Black Americans? What are the issues? What are the things we need to flood their Facebook feeds with, their Twitter feeds with, in order to divide them, in order to get just enough to go into Donald Trump's camp? This right now is election interference that we are seeing on a scale that makes 2016 look like nothing, quite frankly. And I'm happy that the Department of Justice is being vigilant about it. You got to give props to Attorney General Merrick Garland for this indictment. This is a very, very important indictment. And I hope that they are connecting the dots on many more of these schemes that are going on, because like I said, I do not think this is the only one. Jordy, side messaged and asked, would they do congressional hearings for something like this? And to that, I would say, well, they should.
Right? Absolutely.
The thing they should be doing congressional hearings on, but guess what? You have running the House of Representatives right now, like Jim Jordan and James Comer, who are at the receiving end of, if not this Russian money, of this disinformation, and they are either witting or unwitting agents in pushing it forward. They are part of this scheme. So you're going to be damn sure that they are not going to do anything about it. And I'll leave with this, because you see Fox jump into action, try to defend Russia in all this. Instead of like anytime there's some sort of crisis or America is under attack, we used to at least come together in those moments and say, this needs to stop. We are Americans. Do not mess with us. But what does Fox do? Fox downplays the whole thing. Fox acts like it's just one big joke. They go, oh, it's the Russia thing again. No, it's really not. Read the indictment. Stop trying to go against America at every opportunity. So here was an exchange, and this calls back to what Ben was saying about that Jessica Tarlov dynamic. She's the Fox host who leans more with pro-democracy compared to Jesse Waters and the others on the Fox panel. Here's them talking about this $400,000 being paid like monthly or per video, whatever it is, a crazy amount of money to these creators. Here is Jessica Tarlov talking about it, and watch how Fox tries to dismiss it and make it look like a joke to their viewers.
Ben, on this. Okay. I think that Vladimir Putin wants the guy who stood next to him in Helsinki and says, oh, he didn't do anything. He told me we were just meeting, and he said he didn't interfere in the election at all, even though our own Department of Justice had found that he did. What I find interesting about everyone's analysis thus far on this topic is that you're leaving out the juiciest tidbit, which is that the Russians were paying Tim Pool and Benny Johnson $400,000 a month for a weekly video that would go out to their millions of followers.
$400,000 a month?
Yes, more than Hunter Biden was making.
I'm available too if you want to pay me for that money.
But that's you make a joke out of it, and they have denied that they knew that it was coming from a Russian in that way, but they were getting.
Where did you get that info? Because I thought it was going through. I thought it was going through Lauren Chen. Wasn't it her company?
Well,
and that
it's
it was
that
done,
Tennessee-based company.
And that they hired him as to do something. And
well, they've been doing videos, and these kinds of talking points have been showing up in those videos.
Oh, you mean like talking points like inflation's high?
No, like talking about.
You mean like DEI is bad?
Yeah, that,
or like
that kind of talking point.
Let Russia have Ukraine. It sows discord, which is the point. That they want people, first of all, to think that life is completely terrible under the Biden-Harris administration.
Okay, let me ask you.
And it goes to the heart of everything we've been talking about this episode. That's the entire goal of these foreign influence operations. That's the entire goal of Donald Trump and this MAGA movement and this modern day Republican Party, which frankly does not resemble the Republican Party of the old days. And that's exactly what Tim Walz was calling out in that clip where he said they just want to make you miserable. They want to treat this like this is some Mad Max, style script in this country, but it's not. There are a lot of things to actually be happy about. And I think if you find yourself on the side of Vladimir Putin and Russia, if you find yourself aligned, either whether it's on purpose or accidentally, directly aligned 100% with the Russian talking points designed, crafted by Russian intelligence in order to divide the United States of America, I think you have a whole lot of introspection to do, Ben.
Looks like Congress is going to hold hearings, Jordy, to your point, on whether or not Governor Walz had improper links to the CCP. I'm not making that up. That's what James.
That's where they'd rather focus all their efforts. They want vouchers. Yep.
Right. And then finally, Brett, Trump Media, remember, as it was about to go bankrupt before going public, a bank in the island of Dominica called Paxum ended up making a loan through a shady family trust that had connections to Vladimir Putin to keep Trump Media afloat. So I want to make that point right there as well. The connection is right. It's
one
is right.
Big op, or a lot of little ops.
Yeah, as I said, there was there were some major court developments. Just very briefly, federal judge Tanya Chutkin set a scheduling order where all of the absolute immunity issues are going to be addressed before the election. And into October, we'll start seeing briefing by the Department of Justice on Trump's claim of absolute presidential immunity on September 26, 2024. And then finally, Justice Merchan is going to be issuing his order on whether sentencing is going to take place on September 18th, probably tomorrow in the morning. And we'll, of course, be covering that right away. So those developments as well I want to touch upon. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Make sure you check that out. Store.MeidasTouch.com to get that pro-democracy gear. We appreciate you all so much, and we'll see you next time on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty!
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. The film Against All Enemies, which I co-produced with Ben Meiselas and this network, has won awards around the world for its up-close portrayal of America's insurrectionist movement. It premieres in the U.S. on March 29th on Amazon and Apple TV. Go to againstalllenemiesfilm.com or click the link below. But don't just watch Against All Enemies. Tell your friends about it. It's one more way to hold accountable those who threaten our democracy. Thanks, Meidas Mighty. Let's use our power well.